video, we are going to talk about the life and works of Imam Al Ghazali. His name was Abu Ḥāmid ibn Muhammad al-Ṭūsiyy al-Shafi al-Ghazali, and he was honored with the title of Hujjat al-Islam, meaning proof of Islam. He was born in 450 Hijri. His birthplace is the town of Tabran in the district of Taus in the province of Khorasan, which is Iran. His father was a cotton merchant, and therefore he is referred to as Ghazali. His early education was from local teachers in his hometown. He then moved to Jurjan near the Caspian Sea and studied under Imam Abu Nasr Ismaili. The method of teaching was didactic. The teacher would deliver the lecture and the student took notes and compiled them. The young Ghazali was a brilliant student with an incisive wit and sharp intellect. At that time, there were many schools and colleges in every major town and city. However, Nishapur and Baghdad were the two most famous. Since Nishapur was closer to home, Imam Ghazali decided to go there. Here, Imam Al-Haramain, the greatest of his time, taught students the Islamic sciences. Nishapur was one of the famous centers for learning in the Muslim world. According to Shibli, the first Islamic college was established here in Nishapur by the name of Bahiqiya. Imam Al-Haramain was the Grand Mufti as well as having the ear of the ruler. He was held in high esteem by the government and the public. He had an unrivaled reputation and status. Imam Ghazali soon earned a special place amongst the students of Imam Al-Haramain. He was appointed as the Mu'id, assistant teacher. Imam Ghazali began to write books, and his teacher encouraged him in this endeavor. Soon, his fame began to spread. It was around this time that Imam Ghazali was initiated in the spiritual order of Sheikh Farmadi. Imam Al-Haramain died in 475 Hijri. Imam Ghazali decided to leave Nishapur and headed for Baghdad. This was the other great center of learning, and under the patronage of Nizam al-Mulk, who had built the great University of Nizamiya. Imam Ghazali was appointed as a teacher in this prestigious institution. Nizam al-Mulk was an scholar himself and loved the company of scholars. His court was like a debating society. This provided young scholars with an opportunity not only to show off their debating skills and depth of scholarship but to impress the royals. Imam Ghazali loved the ceremony of these occasions. It wasn't long before Imam Ghazali's genius became apparent. His debates, lectures, and counseling were overwhelmingly impressive. His brilliance in all branches of learning was now well established, and Nizam al-Mulk recognized this. In 1092 century, at the young age of 34, Imam Ghazali was appointed the head of Nizamiya. This was one of the highest ranking civil positions and the most coveted place in the capital of Muslim Empire. Imam Ghazali had a lot of influence on the royal family, so much so that they listened to him and heeded his advice. He lived a life of luxury and was showered with worldly riches. Imam Ghazali had wide-ranging interests. Philosophy and spirituality were his favorite subjects. As his interest in spirituality deepened, he became critical of the pomp, wealth, and his love of status. A conflict began to grow inside him. He felt like leaving Baghdad and retiring into wilderness. For 6 months, Imam Ghazali writes in his autobiography of this tense period, "I was in a state of tremendous anxiety until I could not speak, nor eat, nor teach. Eventually, I became ill. Physicians declared me untreatable. He wrote, I came to the conclusion that the blessings of the hereafter cannot be attained without taqwa and giving up carnal desires, and this can only happen once the love of world disappears. Until one renounces the world and yearns for the hereafter, man must energetically and completely turn to his Lord, and this cannot happen without giving up pomp and wealth. When I examined myself, I found myself deeply attached to the world. When I studied the motives behind my lecturing, I found it was merely for grandeur and status. I was now convinced that I stood on the brink of disaster. I reflected on this state for a long time. One day I would decide to leave Baghdad and free myself from these shackles, but the next day I would change my mind. I would take one step forward, another backwards. In the morning I would yearn for the hereafter, but by the evening those thoughts would be overwhelmed by worldly desires. The chains of carnal desires would pull me, and the voice of faith would say, Go, go, only a few hours of life remain, yet the journey is long. Your works are merely for showing off and delusion. If you do not prepare for the hereafter now, when will you do so? Finally, I decided to leave Baghdad. The scholars and the government officials pleaded with me to take back my decision, saying this will be bad luck for the Muslims. How can your departure be Islamically justifiable? Whilst everyone was saying this, I knew the truth and therefore left for Syria. He traveled to Damascus to live in solitude and spend his life in devotion and self-purification. He would climb the western minaret of the Grand Umayyad Masjid and remain there all day, submerged in divine remembrance and meditation. He would also teach in the western wing of the Grand Masjid. After 2 years of devotion and spiritual exercises, he moved to Jerusalem and stayed in the Dome of the Rock. From there, he went to the town of Khalif on the west bank and the tomb of Prophet Ibrahim a.s. He made there 3 pledges. Number 1, never visit a royal court. Number 2, never accept royal gifts. Number 3, never debate with anyone. From there, he decided to go on to Hajj. For 10 long years, he remained on his journey of self-discovery and the search for the truth, wandering through deserts, jungles, cities, and mountains, often staying near the tombs of the saints. During this time, Imam Ghazali wrote books and taught in seminaries and guided students. After roaming for 10 long years and acquiring a deeper understanding of Islam, he once again returned to Baghdad. He was received with joy and offered the mantle of directorship of Nizamiya once more. It is thought that it was here that he wrote his magnum opus, The Revival of Religious Sciences. This is one of the classics of Islamic scholarship. Imam Ghazali taught at Nizamiya only for a short while before going back to his hometown of Tabran. Here he established a small seminary where he taught and directed students. He died on 14 Jamaat-ul-Sani 505 Hijri at the age of 53. His younger brother Ḥāmid Ghazali gives an account of his last moments. On Monday morning he woke up, he performed wudu and prayed Fajr prayer and then asked for his shroud. Kissing it, he said, I eagerly accept my Lord's command. He laid down and died. May Allah bless his soul. This is the brief biography of famous scholar, philosopher Imam Al Ghazali. If you like the video, please subscribe to our channel and share this video.